Well, comes that time of the week when we go out to the other coast and check in with that reviewer, Michael Snyder, and his Culture Blast report. Hello, Michael.
Well, howdy, Alex, and greetings to America and the extremities out there in internet land and wherever else you're listening. It's time to plow forward and give you the insight in the skinny on some new films. Shall we get rolling?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Okay, well, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, is the second movie to star Tom Cruise as novelist Lee Child's Hobo Avenger. And let's put it this way, this one's a reach. In fact, Never Go Back is a real reach around, and I mean that in a bad way. It's a sequel to a pretty good Tom Cruise movie that was dogged by people complaining that Cruise didn't fit the all-important physical profile, quite tall and imposing, of the character portrayed in this best-selling, well-loved series of hard-boiled thrillers by Child. And that would be the Jack Reacher character. What's weird is that it didn't matter in the first adaptation of one of this guy's books because the script and action sequences were so good and Cruise really delivered. Here, even though the director and screenwriter Edward Zwick of Glory fame is all over this, it seems secondhand and stale, including a subplot about a drifter having a teenage girl named Samantha who may or may not be his bastard offspring. You know, Reacher is the golden-hearted vigilante, ex-military police commander. You know, he's always ready for a fight, but he never has a place to stay. And it's just the bizarre concept. Kobe Smulders, who some people may know as Maria Hill in the Marvel superhero movies, but mostly remember her from How I Met Your Mother, the sitcom. She's on board as an MP commander who's accused of treason and in need of Reacher's help. The young actress, Danica Yarouche, is Samantha, the possible Reacherette, and she's pretty good. And there's a slew of marginally known character actors like Robert Knepper and Patrick Husinger, and the settings range from the Heartland, the Boondocks, to Washington, D.C., to America's favorite standby exotic locale, New Orleans, but not during Mardi Gras for the requisite chase down French Quarter streets jammed with costumed revelers. Instead, it's during Halloween for the requisite chase down French Quarter streets jammed with costume revelers. Maybe it's Devil Gras or something. But ultimately, this doesn't add up to much. It seems pretty much formula, and I just was disappointed because I went in with higher hopes, having liked the first Jack Reacher film. Maybe bargain matinee if you like this stuff, but it doesn't really get much of a recommendation from yours truly. Another major disappointment for me, and maybe I should have known going in, Keeping Up with the Joneses. It's espionage for laughs in a supposed comedy about a suburban couple whose lives are turned upside down when they find out that their super attractive, impossibly fit, ridiculously charming new neighbors are much more than they seem. All right, they're spies, but on whose side? That's the big issue. So it's a promising idea, and it's rife with comic potential. It stars Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher as the normal couple, whose marriage and love life have kind of gone south, and John Hamm and Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot, as Mr. and Mrs. Jones, a literal power couple when you factor in all the weapons. The only thing that's missing here is the funny. Alas, despite the talent, charm, and comedic skills of many of the players, this is a stiff. I mean, it's telling that the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, incongruous, deadly wasps in the ointment suburban spy couple movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, was much funnier than Keeping Up with the Joneses, which is a similar movie with a more accomplished comic cast, including, Galifianakis, Hamm, Fisher, supporting turns from Matt Walsh, Bobby Lee, and Patton Oswalt. But no, rather than Keeping Up with the Joneses, I wish Mr. and Mrs. Jones had kept up with Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the entertainment department. Sadly enough, cannot recommend this. Moving right on, we'll get to In a Valley of Violence. Now, he may not be Sergio Leone, but writer-director Ty West offers a decent and sometimes snarky tribute to the spaghetti westerns of yore in this tale of a mysterious drifter. That's one box checked off. A guy named Paul, played by Ethan Hawke, who shows up in a small, desolate town located in the so-called Valley of Violence. Pretty promising. He's on his way to Mexico with his dog by his side and just passing through this once thriving mountain town. The remaining citizenry are less than savory types. The head lunatic in the town appears to be the marshal's son, played by James Ranson, who, of course, decides to provoke Paul when the latter shows up. You know, oil and water. As you might expect, a series of incidents keep raising the stakes and threatening the inevitable showdown, while the marshal, played by that old scenery chomper John Travolta, tries to hold back what's surely a-comin'. To sweeten the pot and the plot, there are two sisters, played by Taissa Farmiga and one of my favorites, Karen Gillan, who's in the Guardians of the Galaxy films and was on Doctor Who for a while. And these girls run the local hotel and are embroiled in the conflict. And you also get the requisite shocking revelation as past sins come to life. I thought it was diverting, like a B-movie in the best possible way, and easily worth a stream or, again, a bargain matinee. You know, sometimes a bargain matinee is a put-down. Sometimes it's like, yeah, this works as a bargain matinee. Okay, the very best film I can offer you insight upon is The Handmaiden. It is, in my book, yet another corker from Korean director Park Chan-wook, who is the stylish and violence orchestrating filmmaker behind, among other features, Old Boy and Lady Vengeance. The Handmaiden is a period crime drama based on a British novel. Park shifted the setting to 1930s era colonial Korea and Japan to tell the tale of a young aristocratic Japanese woman who lives in luxury and seclusion on a big estate, and the beleaguered Korean woman who is pressed into service as her handmaiden. There's all kinds of homoerotic stuff going on. There's all kinds of backbiting and double dealing. In fact, the Korean handmaiden is in league with a con artist who is trying to get his hands on the lady's inheritance. Like I said, a lot of double crosses and triple crosses and deceptions. The cast is absolutely awesome. As the lady Hideko, Ha Jung-woo she's wonderful. Pardon me, that's Kim Min-hee. Ha Jung-woo is the con artist, and Kim Tae-ri plays the maid Suki. It's beautiful. It's explosive. It does really unexpected things plot-wise. And you're engaged all the way to the end, and you got to pay attention. But I thought The Handmaiden really rocked. Now, I was not able to see a movie that I was interested in checking out, which is a film which is called Ouija. Believe it or not, I wanted to see this film. I like a crummy horror film as much as the next guy. Origin of Evil. They played it against one of the other screenings, and I chose probably wrong. And they did not show the critics Boo, Medea Halloween, the latest Tyler Perry abomination. Also, I have heard and did not see because of other conflicts that Moonlight is an exquisite film. So those are things I'm going to look into. And we'll just wrap up with a documentary I think people should see. And it's a very, very tough view. It's called Fire at Sea. And it is a deeply affecting and often agonizing documentary about a small island in the Mediterranean that's become a stopover for illegal immigrants moving from Africa to Europe. It's up close and personal. It's difficult to watch in places, but it is incredibly powerful as all of these refugees from Africa and the Middle East are moving through there in hopes of getting to Europe and restarting their lives. It's timely, and it's very, very, very sad, and yet it's extremely powerful, particularly since they key in on this one kid, Samuel, as he's trying to kind of understand the situation he's in and, learn about his environment and figure out what he's going to do with his life. Great and powerful stuff. Fire at Sea. What do you got going on there, buddy?
Well, nothing much. Some older stuff that needs to be mentioned. This year's American Horror Story is brilliant, just brilliant in the way that it's designed itself. The first 5 episodes were a faux documentary about this couple who moves into this house, and and all the horrible things that happen. And finally, at the end of the 5th episode, they escape and never go back. And what they do is they have the real people telling the story and then a actor's reenactment of it. Okay?
Sure.
So they end the show after 5 episodes. It takes place in Roanoke. And I wonder, what are you going to do next week? Come back. It's the TV producer. The show, it says the show was a big success. It beat out Sunday Night Football, blah, 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 blah. And the network wanted more. And so the producers come up with an idea to send the whole cast and also the original people back to the house in Roanoke, okay, during the blood moon. And I mean, just that whole turn where you see a half a series of exposition in the documentary, and you're wondering why they're doing it that way, and now you see why. And it's just, the exposition on this thing is just brilliant. And at the end of this episode, they say all the people at the house died under mysterious circumstances except one, but we'll show you the footage that survives. And so from here on in, it's the survival footage, and you already know a lot of people are going to die except one. I mean, it's just, I got to say, one of the most brilliant pieces of American television I've seen in a long time.
So this is Ryan Murphy kind of taking on the reality TV thing, the follow-ups, the let's see where they are now, that whole thing, and put it into a narrative context.
Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant.
Is it as scary as Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
No. Nothing scarier than that. Nothing scarier than the Trump thing.
Hillary debate.
Yeah. But it'll do. On the other hand, I'm very disappointed this year in The Flash, and I'm equally disappointed in Arrow, which I think both have gotten a little long in the tooth or something, because they just bored the shit out of me. However, last year's Legends of Tomorrow kind of left me cold, and this year it's gotten very good. So
yeah,
go figure.
I'm totally enjoying it. If anybody knows what the Legion of Doom is in comic book lore, they are doing a variation on that, which I found incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, it is very good, and the question is going to be, is Rip Hunter going to be back again in the show, or is he kind of out for the time being? So.
Yeah. Rip Hunter, played by Arthur Darvill of Doctor Who fame, and we have Karen Gillan in the Western this week, so it's a Doctor Who fest. Not really, but I will say that...
I'd like to say of Broadchurch fame, because that's his...
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I always like to say what the guy did last that was well-known.
He was great, and that's a great... I do want to say, Lovers of British Television, one of my favorite mini-series of the past 10 years, one of the most powerful and entertaining and engaging and heartbreaking, is a show called The Missing, which you can see on streaming services now. It's a wonderful film.
No, you can't. You can only get it by stealing it.
The Missing, the original version of it?
It will. The second series will show up exactly where it showed up last time, and that will be on Stars, but it's not on Stars yet.
Well, the first one is not streaming in other places.
The first one is streaming on Stars.
That's what I was.
You're referring to the latest one. You could see online, and yes, you can, but you've got to know how to get it.
Right. I just was saying, if you haven't seen the first version of it, you should find it, because the first series is absolutely great, and the new one just started 2 weeks ago, and I'm very excited about it. The first one, a British couple loses their child on vacation in France. It's very, very engaging and exciting. Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
But that's about it. I'm continuing to enjoy This Is Us, which I think is probably going to be the show to beat next year at the Emmys. I just think that on the whole, there's some very good television out there. The Designated Survivor show, which I expected would suck, turned out to be an amazingly good show. So, it's a good year for television, and I'm really warming up to Westworld finally.
Well, I think it's got so many wonderful questions and mysteries that I can't wait for the next episode of it.
Yeah. But anyway, that's you, and that's me, and that's that. And tell them where they can find you.
Go to Twitter and look up @Culture Blaster. Follow me there. And also check in with yours truly and Alex at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page as we have cached all of our little segments and reviews.
And don't forget that this is all brought to you by GABNet, GABNet.net. And there'll be more GABNet coming up right now if you're listening to us online.